What is the meaning of life? If you go on Google and search life, there are tons of different definitions. Most are scientific, some are dumbed down to help the less educated. But if you really think about it, we all have our own definition of life. Life, to me, was simply the long period between birth and death. But that's just my opinion. But things happen. And opinions change. It was 2 months that I was in that house. That's 8 weeks. That's 60 days, 1,460 minutes. I locked myself in there to protect myself from what lies behind the door. The dead world. My body forced me to open the door. I had been living on crumbs for about a week. I was out of everything. I had to find something. I came upon a door that had been locked from the outside. I would have to break my way in. I looked in the closest window. Seeing nothing, I returned to my journey. As the leaves crunched under my feet, I realized that I had no form of protection. Luckily, I spotted a baseball bat lying on the ground close to me. I picked it up and inspected it for bloodstains. There were only 2. I began on my way, stopping when I noticed that I wasn't alone. She stood there at the edge of the woods, her eyes locked on me. I knew if I didn't act, she would. So I began sprinting towards her, expecting her to sprint right back at me. But she didn't. She threw herself to the ground and threw her hands up in defense. I stopped in complete shock. She slowly began to look up at me. Her eyes met with mine. We stayed like this until she decided to stand up. She kept our eyes locked until she turned and began to walk back into the woods. I knew this was a dead one. Her eyes looked dead. She had fresh blood around her mouth. She even smelled dead. I was knocked out of my thoughts when she turned around. She slowly motioned her hand as if she wanted me to follow her. I was hesitant for a second. Then I decided to take the chance. I followed her deep down into the woods, following at a safe distance, of course. I gripped my bat tighter when she turned around, just knowing that she was going to charge at me. She simply brought her hand up and motioned for me to keep following her. I did. She surprised me when she took a turn very quickly. Then she came upon a little building, something that seemed like a big doghouse. Motioning for me to follow her again, hesitantly, I walked forward. Is my curiosity about to get me killed, I wondered? She was staring at a deck of cards. Then she slowly looked up at me. Confusion was all over my face. The look on her face persuaded me to come sit across from her. She motioned for me to pick up the cards that were laying beside me. I did so. She placed one of the cards from her hand down to the deck of cards. Then she nodded at me to signal it was my turn. I slowly placed a card down onto the deck. As soon as I did, the sides of her lip turned up into somewhat of a smile. I chuckled. This dead, walking corpse just smiled at me. I waved goodbye after about 30 minutes of playing. She waved back. Yes, I was still hungry, but I was surprisingly happy. I had just made friends with a corpse. How is that even possible? The next day I decided to go back for another round. As I approached the building, I grew more excited. I turned the corner and looked into the building, and she wasn't there. All that was there was the cards, all spread out, as if they had just been thrown in there. I looked around to see if I could see her anywhere, but she was nowhere to be found, and I never saw her again. I began to wonder how this could happen. How could a corpse have such human instincts? How could it still be connected to the things it used to do before its life ended? Or did her life really end? Just because she died, doesn't mean her life is over? What do you think?